Hey, what's going on guys? Wannabico here, and welcome to episode 4 of Scrimming Essentials, a weekly series where I'll be breaking down the basics of how to scrim in Fortnite. In this video, I'll be covering late game, some basic strategies, how to rotate in congested lobbies, and how to win the game. Just a FYI, this will be a longer video as I'll be covering a lot of topics, so I'll be showing some timestamps on screen right now where you can pause and skip to that section of the video. Introduction. Late game is characterized by the moving zones. The game becomes extremely fast paced and split-second decisions will have to be made. Right after half and half zone, which is 5th zone, moving zone will begin. The zones will start to spawn outside of the circle while getting smaller. Each zone will have a reduced amount of time between the closing of one zone and the starting of the next. Strategies. There are 4 main strategies that I'll be talking about in this video. Number 1. Healing off with floppers/bandage bazookas. Number 2. Taking high ground using a launch pad, retakes, grapplers, shooting on height, etc. And last but not least, impact fragging. As an FYI, I'll be leaving a link in the description to every pro VOD that I use in my explanations. Healing off with floppers/bandage bazookas. In this current meta, floppers are super strong. They'll heal you for 50 health in only 1 second, which can lead to some pretty outstanding plays. With floppers, the storm can become your friend. You can take storm damage and wait for players to rotate ahead of you, allowing you to get a free rotate or potentially snipe height. Taking high ground, launchpad retakes, grapplers, shooting down height, etc. With the reintroduction of launch pads, high ground can be sniped really easily in late game. Let's take a look at this pro player's amazing play.
Oh my god, cap! Come up! Oh no. I don't know where to launch. Land in, build up! I'm on height!
Now that you've seen that clip, let's analyze what Mongrel did to make this play successful. Upon expanding out vertically, Mongrel notices that there's a team above him that are trying to aggro into his box. Knowing that they'll try to hold him in zone, Mongrel decides to launchpad away in order to disengage from the fight. Upon launchpadding, Mongrel notices that the high ground was only being held by a solo and decides to land in zone to secure height. Notice how Mongrel purposely chooses to take storm damage over landing on the player's cones? He does this to avoid a 50-50 fight. He doesn't want to risk any unnecessary damage or dying this late into game, so he's willing to take a couple ticks of storm damage in order to prevent that. Additionally, utilizing the grappler can also grant high ground super easily against unaware opponents. Just a warning however, if you're planning to go for high ground, consider these 3 factors first. Are there multiple people currently contesting height? Do you see other people that are planning to take height? For example, they're building up? Do you have the resources to hold height against other players? If you're double guessing yourself about taking height, you probably shouldn't take it. Only take height if you're extremely confident that you can hold it and that you can win with it. If you do secure height, remember that players are always constantly looking for an opportunity to steal the high ground from you. Getting ahead of zone. This is a pretty common strategy that works most of the time. If you're really good on mats, try to tunnel ahead of zone and cut back to catch players rotating. This strategy is effective in both mid game and late game and can result in some really easy kills. Also, if you're planning to contest for height, getting ahead of the zone will benefit you greatly. You'll have more time to crank 90s and have a better chance of securing high ground. Impact frags. If you notice that you're running out of mats, it's time to look for an impact frag. An impact frag is an elimination that will help you greatly and can help you win the game. Let's take a look at this pro player's play and what they did to find an impact frag.
No mats, no builds. You have to type in on someone if you need. Nice. Get your X. Shut on! Get your mats, box it. Nice. You have so many mats. 300. Watch your bottom. In your box. Head it out. Nice. Keep going. Break through that wall. He's suffocating. Nice. Holy shit, you are popping off. Above you. Good mats. You could go through there, but I wouldn't. It works so well. Okay, go. Oh, you're good. You have a lot of mats still. 200 mats. You can get off meds. You have enough to full tunnel ahead and then get a half bottle off if you need.
I didn't get the tunnel off now.
I don't think you can. Oh, you're a genius. I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. Make sure your heavy's reloaded if you want to go for another psycho. Nice! You get tree. 60 60 HP. It's rogue. No way! 1v1! 1v1! 2 builds, 1 build, 1 build, 1 build, 1 build, 1 build. You want to go down and place a ramp. Grappler? He didn't go up, he didn't go up. No way!
One of the key takeaways from this clip is AV's amazing decision making. In the first scene, AV edits out the side of the box looking for a rotate, but then he changes his mind. He does this in hopes of getting an impact frag on a rotating player as he has low health and really low mats. Rotating around the older builds, he catches the player he tagged with a pump shot and quickly finishes off his other teammate. Another duo hears the engagement and drops on him, however instead of panicking or trying to fight, AV quickly covers his back and disengages. AV knows that the zone is coming quickly and doesn't want to take extra storm damage. He then notices that the player is trying to get into his builds and catches him off guard with a quick edit. Instead of breaking through the wall of the agency like most players would, AV decides to take a risky rotate through the air vents. Should he have broken the wall of the agency, players already in zone would have tried to hold him. He then chooses to pop both his minis and his big instead of rotating early into zone as Chap suggests, as AV knows that another player is rotating out of zone and he needs the extra shields in case he takes damage. AV then spots the player rotating and gets the elimination. Now with 50 more health, AV decides to push the player on high ground. Instead of taking the easy way out by editing through his older builds, AV decides to take storm damage in order to catch the high ground player off guard. Instead of waiting in storm to finish his elimination, AV decides to push into zone. He does this because he knows the player that he knocked will eventually die to storm damage and will heal him for a lot more health once he makes it out of the circle. Finally, we're left with a 1v1. AV uses his last build to drop and protect himself, choosing a cone over a ramp like Chap suggests because it covers more angles. His opponent tries to take height with the grappler but ultimately fails. AV notices that the enemy player didn't actually grapple and punishes him with a quick pump shot and several AR shots to win the game.
No way! No way! No way! No way!
I'm the f***ing best!
It is so good! No way!
A pro tip is to have your pickaxe out after you get an impact frag. This will prevent you from accidentally swapping out your items when you grab the loot. This trick can help save you from a lot of headaches in late game. How to rotate in congested lobbies. There are 3 main ways to rotate in congested lobbies. Number 1, tunneling. Number 2, using old builds for rotating. And number 3, using a launch pad. Tunneling. If you decide to tunnel into zone, try to practice these 3 tunnels. There's the half protected tunnel, the tri-tunnel, and the full tunnel. The half protected tunnel is pretty good if you're low on mats and people aren't holding you in zone. The tri-tunnel is pretty good for short rotates and saving your mats, and the full tunnel is the most expensive but the most protective of the bunch. Let's take a look at this pro player and how they tunnel into zone.
Coming down.
It's free!
Yeah, I'm here.
Get in! Follow! Ignore that kid, edit in!
I'm getting in. We're good. I'm blocking your back.
Oh, come here.
Sorry, my stair. There's a kid behind us in zone.
I know, follow me.
Good. Yeah, just keep going.
I'm wasting so many mats, I know.
I'm reloading heavy. Just reloaded. Just keep
Come here.
playing this layer. We're chilling here.
Reloading.
I'm ready.
Reloading. Breakthrough.
Yeah, come here. Just follow. Right here.
While this rotate isn't any flashy mongrel earthquake tunneling, Innocence and Agers did however take first place in the recent NA East FNCS Duos Finals. I do believe however that their consistent performance is partially due to their amazing rotations. Let's take another look at their gameplay. Innocence first notices that a player in front of him rotates through a floor piece. He calls out to Agers that the rotate is free and drops to low ground. He then tells Agers to ignore the players rotating next to them and begins to tunnel. First he starts with a tri-tunnel, however he messes up. Because he doesn't want to mess up again and waste time, Innocence proceeds to full tunnel into zone. He also does this to gain vision of his surroundings that wouldn't have been available with the tri-tunnel. He then places a cone on the floor piece that isn't his to prevent any duos from editing them down, and then sees a team above them. Instead of continuing to tunnel up, Innocence decides to stay on his layer that he knows is uncontested. The reason why I like this clip so much is because of Innocence's good understanding of rotations. He identifies a free rotate amongst the craziness of endgame, allowing his team to secure a good location to base up on. Using old builds. Sometimes you can get extremely lucky and find a free rotate in late game. If another team rotated before you, you can use their path and tunnels. Using old builds to hide yourself can also give you a free rotation. Let's take a look at this gameplay where I use some older builds to get a free rotation into zone. Okay, so this guy's rotating right now. They're all launch padding. I'm going to go ahead and drop down, and I think this is a free rotate because the player down below here, yeah, he just rotated. So let me check my back real quick. We're good. Let's see if I can break through here. Never mind. Let's go through the top. I think there's going to be less players. Let me cover my back. I'm going to use some of these half ramps to protect myself. I'm going to just connect to this box, do a side jump, and then let's base up right here. I think this will be good. Yeah, this looks good. Oh, snap. Never mind. Let me keep on expanding into the base. Yeah, it seems like everyone is on the other side of the circle already, so this is good for me because this whole entire side is the dead side, which means I can get a free rotate. Ooh, there's another player. I tagged him for a little bit. Let's see if I can follow up on that. Ooh, I just got the kill from that guy I shot down from height. Let's see if I can connect a couple shots. This player, nah, never mind. Oh, snap, gotta expand. Now I am only single ramping because I'm only like 3 layers above. I'm not too high up, so I could catch myself. So I'm trying to save some mats here. Let me go ahead and tag this guy. Ooh, that's some good damage. Let me expand a little more. Got the kill. This guy looks like he's gonna get tarp up. There we go. Tagged him a couple of times. Gotta shoot him out of the air so they don't try to land on me. Contest height. Let's keep on going. Is there anybody above me? No. Ooh, shoot. Ooh, okay, that's bad. This is bad. I need to get out. I need to get out. This player. Ooh, no. Ooh, ouch. Now that you've seen that clip, let's analyze what I did right and wrong. First, I identify the next zone. I see that it pulls away, and I immediately drop to low ground where it's less congested. I then notice the player in front of me has already rotated, and I use some of their older builds and the half-protected tunnel to get into zone. Here's where I go wrong, however. When I base up in zone, I lower my guard and don't realize that the next zone was coming in, costing me 20 health. Next, I notice that a player is single tarping on high ground. I shoot him out, and then I notice that most of the players have already rotated into zone, leaving me with a free rotate. I then notice that the grappler player is trying to go for height, and I hit him with a tack shot, making him giving up height to heal. After securing height, I look for some players to tag. This is where I make the same mistake again and take 10 storm damage because I was tunnel visioning. I managed to get a few tags on a player rotating into zone and spot a player double ramping up. I beam him before he has an opportunity to contest for height and continue to shoot at the players gliding to discourage them from landing on me. What I did was right, but how I did it was wrong. Because I was so focused on the players gliding, I didn't pay attention to the minigun player below me. If I had given more of my attention to my surroundings and identified threats earlier, I might have been able to survive. This is such a good game to learn from as I made careless mistakes that made me take storm damage, and not being aware of my surroundings costed me the game. To further grow your own learning, I encourage you to VOD review your own gameplay similar to how I did. For the basics of VOD reviewing, identify what you first did wrong in your gameplay and then apply it. For example, if you got held in zone and died, ask yourself how you got into that situation. Did you take a bad rotate? Did you use the wrong kind of material while you were tunneling? Once you identify what you did wrong, write it down and apply it into your next game so you don't make the same mistake. Using a launch pad. If you have a launch pad, you can try to take height, use it to get out of a congested area, or use it to rotate. Often in late game, you're going to want to use a low pad over a regular launch pad as it's better to grant rotation with less danger of being shot out of the air. To set up a low pad, simply place a ramp over the wall of your base in the direction you want to travel. Additionally, you can also get pretty lucky if you wait for someone to use one first, which can allow you to save your own launch pad for later. Last but not least, winning the game. Winning the game is a mixture of all different factors that we previously talked about. Winning the game is pretty difficult if you're not prepared. To help us with that, let's take a look at this pro player and how they win the game.
I don't know, don't worry about it. I don't know where it is. Let's just hit it. You gotta get in. You gotta keep going far. You have max match, just funnel all the way in. Stay right side though, there's nobody on the right side. Gonna pop a mini. I might have fish. I know fish, big pot. Start tunneling in. I pulled back. Pop the big, nice. There's a kid low ground hiding somewhere. He's dead. Killed him. Nice. Hey, fish. No. Go to the left. Behind you, low ground, ultimate low. I can't get through here. Kid right there. Yeah, you're good here. Nice. Grab the mat. Play low. Do the minigun. You gotta grab that grappler. Make a height play here. Nice. Go up. Glorious. They're gonna poke you hard. You gotta pressure them. Nice. Rocket. Keep the pressure up though. You have 11 rockets. Pressure these kids at 2. Don't worry about the solo. Don't worry about the solo. Use him to win this game. They're gonna run out of mats soon. Just branch in the zone. They're tanking storm. Just focus this kid on you. He's gonna run low on mats. He's trying to shoot you out. You're chilling. You have a flopper. Just go up. Okay, the storm's gonna die. You have a flopper? Take storm, eat the flopper, and then push him.
Now that you've seen that amazing clip, let's break it down. Scoped is first seen in the storm eating floppers to get a free rotate into zone. Seeing that the next zone is far away, he utilizes a bunch of different tunnels that we previously talked about. Running out of brick and building with wood, Scoped gets spammed out by height. Forced to box up, a knocked player gets dropped in front of his box, giving Scoped a free impact frag. Rotating through the free side of zone, Scoped decides to break into some older builds to save mats. After getting another impact frag, the players above him start spamming him and he's forced to drop to low ground. Tfue then gives him the call to pick up the grappler, knowing its playmaking value. Formulating a plan, Scoped drops his minis for a flopper to make a potential zone play. Grappling onto height, Scoped shoots a rocket at the minigun team, tagging them and dropping them to low ground. He tries to keep up the pressure on the enemy team with rockets, but gets knocked down to low ground. Instead of pushing for height again, Scoped lets the two players fight it out. Finally, now in a 1v1, Scoped eats his flopper and pulls off an amazing grapple play in Storm, winning his team the game. If you don't have high ground, there's always other strategies, such as dropping low ground, looking for impact frags, and then using those materials that you got from your kill to continue building and tunneling ahead of zone. This concludes episode 4 of Scrimming Essentials. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for all the support on this series. Please join me next week when I'll be covering the mental game, how to outsmart your opponents, and how to stay confident in scrims. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great time scrimming.